As a parent, we're always asking ourselves questions like this. Should I let my child participate in this activity? Child gets in the activity. Should I let my child quit because it's a headache? Because now we're just arguing every time we have to go to piano practice. When you want your child to do an activity and they want to do the activity, there's a difference in you wanting them to do an activity and they don't want to. Now you're making them, versus they say they want to do something and you agree to that. In that particular situation, you say, okay, we're going to do piano lessons, right? As a parent, we're automatically thinking, oh, we're going to be in a concert hall one day. You're going to be the best pianist in the world because we want the best for our children. But the reality is, in about 6 months, you're going to hate the piano as much as your child hates the piano. But to keep the stress from you two, the mom, the dad, and the child, we have to set up the right parameters. We set it up, say, for 3 months. You sit down, you look on the calendar, you say, every Monday at 3 o'clock we have a lesson. Every day of the week you have to practice for 20 minutes. Maybe you get one day off, I don't know. Whatever you guys come up with. And now we're going to teach them about contracts. You write it out in a language they can understand. I want to take piano lessons for 3 months. Initial. Parents line. I agree to take my child to piano lessons and pay for it for 3 months. And a line for the parent to initial. I am willing to practice 6 days a week, not on Sundays. A child line for the child. Underneath that, I as the parent am willing to remind my child and encourage them and praise them to do their best 6 days a week on piano. Underneath that, the next rule, the next rule, the next rule, right? And that way, when your child on week 4 says, I don't want to go to piano, all we do is the same thing, oh my gosh, right? And we all know how that is. You can say, well, I understand that you don't want to do that. But here, we signed a contract. See here, I initialed and I signed at the bottom, and you initialed and you signed at the bottom, and you gave me your word you were going to do this for 3 months. Now, if you look down at line 6, it says, if I argue about going to the piano, then I am willing to have these consequences. If I argue about doing my daily lessons, then I am willing to have these consequences. So now we're giving our child to look at the contract, the opportunity to make choices. Okay? You're arguing, do we really want to have these consequences? Of course not. Okay, so you got to understand when you sign a contract, that's your word. And when you break your word, you're really breaking that trust that people have in you. And it gives you that lesson. But for you, the parent, it gives you a term. And you're not beating your head on the wall, you're giving your child a lesson for only 12 weeks. And for 12 weeks, we can do anything. And then as we're getting to that 10th week mark, the 11th week mark, we're having conversations around, is this something you want to continue or not? And they get to say yes, or they get to say no. So should I make my child do something? Absolutely. For the term they agreed upon. Should I put them into an activity they don't want to do? Yes. If you think it's going to be a good experience for them, like swimming. I don't want to swim, I don't want to swim. Swimming's a necessity. You could drown without knowing how to swim. But we have to do it in an environment where we understand they're not going into this willing. I can't be frustrated about that as the parent. This is something I'm trying to force them into because they don't want to get wet, right? Which is different than the situation of the piano where the child wants to do the activity and we set a certain term. On this over here where the child doesn't want to do it, we have to be more understanding and help them through the process of understanding why that's important. Whereas in this lesson over here, you signed a contract and we have to go to term. When you work in these two worlds with your kids, your stress as a parent will go down and you'll understand when the right time to make them do something is because you're teaching them follow through and when the right time to let something go is.